Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the beginning after the end, season 1, episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we had that opening. I'm curious if there's gonna be more to that. Will it just be like, oh, was that Arthur's fear and anxiety, or was there something deeper than that? Like that monster that manifested? Is that supposed to represent the power that was in him, like that Sylvia gave him, or is it something else? I'm wondering, because it's hard to say whether that was like a metaphorical thing, like I said, just with the circumstances being what they are, or is there like a physical thing of like, no, that's something deeper. I mean, maybe it kind of goes in conjunction with, the power he got from Sylvia, but also the escaping his past and being who he was when he was the king in that previous world and life. I don't know. But obviously, a big part of this episode was leading up to Arthur's training with Virion. It's still that debate with his son and his daughter-in-law are not too keen on him doing this, because it's like what it means. It's like, fine, him saving Tessia is one thing, but like having him stay here and live here, once again, so many centuries of beef between the humans and the elves, so it's understandable why they feel, especially as monarchs themselves, it's a thing of like they represent their people, so it's kind of like you making a decision to keep a person, like it doesn't look great. And it's just, once again, years and centuries of like hate like doesn't like and prejudice don't disappear like that. But Virion made his choices, like, I've taken an interest in that kid, so I'm going to do this. And even Tessia is like, yo, he saved my life, so shouldn't that be enough? And so we actually learn a little bit more about Tessia too when Virion talks about the fact is, he's like, I'm glad not only did you save my granddaughter's life, but you actually make her smile. He's like, I can't tell you the last time I saw her smile, because her being a princess, there's such a heavy burden and responsibility on it, because she is the sole heir to the throne. And for her, it's a situation of because of like people leaving her life because of that, whether it's just like people she has to keep like who keep a distance from her because she's the princess or what. But it's like so many lives, like so many people are away from her, so she kind of has to build up a wall around herself to kind of like protect herself from the pain of like being so lonely, because she grew up in such a lonely environment. And now like it makes Arthur think back to anytime he was calling her princess and she like twisted his skin, being like, yo, don't call me princess. It's because that term, that title has such a heavy connotation to it for her. It represents all the things she doesn't like about her life, of like she's not really having any friends and being kind of lonely, because any people who interact with her are only interacting with her as the princess. Like the fact is, and I think that's also another reason why she didn't tell, like, even if it being a human, why she is probably in her head trained not to tell anyone that's meeting her for the first time that she's a princess, because it's like, I don't want you treating me differently, because she's grown up with so many people treating her differently. Maybe people treated her different before they recognized she was the princess and learned that, but still, it's like she's been surrounded by people who see her as the princess. So Arthur has given her something that he kind of didn't really think much of it, because he didn't have that perspective of, oh, like you giving her something she hasn't really had, a genuine friend and a genuine reason to smile. So they go and visit Virion's friend, Rhaenyra, who is a seer. Now she's like, I can't even see all there is to see to you. She also appreciates the fact is that Virion lets Arthur call him grandpa, and it's like, oh, because he trusts Virion, because later on it's like, oh, I can put my trust in this old man, because he's like fighting so much, and he's thanking me so genuinely, so like I know I can trust him. But even later on it's like, oh, why are Tessia's parents like doing a complete 180 on me, saying like I can stay here and be treated like family? But then he realizes like, oh, like the king has a hard time saying no to both his father and his daughter, who are both really pushing for this, so they kind of have to submit and just kind of accept it as is. But either way, going back to Rhaenyra, I thought it was interesting when she was like, I can't see all of you, but she's like, I can't see the past and future. And Arthur is like, no, that's not what I'm here for. That does make you wonder and begs the question, like, if because Sylvia knows exactly who Arthur was. Like I said, I don't know if she's responsible for reincarnating him as Arthur in this world, reincarnating Gray in this world as Arthur, or what. Like, for her to know that and being like potentially the only being that knows that, I think it's kind of interesting. That's why I was like, she has to be behind that, but maybe not. Either way, he was able to contact his family, and we kind of get a little insight into what's happened since then, because we don't really know how much time has passed since the incident. But basically, because their main reason for going to like the capital was mainly just so that Arthur could train. I guess they were going to, obviously they weren't going to leave him here alone, so I guess what they ultimately ended up doing is what they were going to do. Like, hey, we'll make a new home here for a little bit while he trains, and then we'll eventually go back home after he's done training and stuff like that. I don't think going to where they are, like that city, was going to be like a permanent stay or not. But obviously both Alice and Reynolds were like beating themselves up, blaming themselves. Like, we see Reynolds was kind of trying to drink himself under the, like, try and drown his sorrows, but beating themselves up. They said goodbye to the party as they dropped them off to the city, and they found a home and they're working, but then it doesn't ease the pain, especially because today is Arthur's birthday, and it just reminds them so much, and they blame themselves. But Arthur contacts them. It's like, it's not your fault. I'm okay. It might take me a while. There's something wrong with my body that needs to be fixed, but I'm going to come back to you guys. I promise. I love you guys so much. And it's very beautiful. And for him, it's like, he wasn't sure fully whether or not he was going to stay and train, but after this, it's like, no, I need to get back to my family. I'm never going to make them sad again. So that's extra reason to get strong. It's very much like a One Piece thing of like before the time skip of like Luffy making the decision of, let's get stronger so we're never separated again, you know? So it's kind of that mentality. And so the training will commence, and he will be staying at the palace. And Tessia shows him around town, where a little snot-nosed brat like causes beef with him because he's like, oh, you're a filthy human, you're going to give me your germs. But then like Arthur doesn't take too much offense to it, because he's like, oh, look at these background characters. As like, all right, whatever. But then he's like, you know what, I'm gonna lean into it a little bit. Like, oh my god, you're so awesome. Oh, you're this great person I didn't know. But like, he's like, wait, you got my name wrong. I can sense sarcasm. And Arthur's like, oh wow, I guess this guy's not as much of an idiot as I thought. I do love that Tessia like really started laughing too, because, you know, once again, because this guy's bowing to it, because he's from a noble family and everything, but he's bowing to Tessia. It's like, oh, let me escort you. And she's like, no, thank you. Because it's like, once again, you only treat me this way because I'm the princess, but you're also going to disrespect my good friend. Like, nah, screw that. And so it leads to a duel, which I thought there would have been bigger issues, because I'm sure people wouldn't appreciate a human beating up an elf. But it was like a very one-sided thing. Like, I was like, is he going to accidentally use too much of his power and take? I'm like, but would Arthur really do that? Once again, you know, Arthur is gray and he's got experience. Like, why would I do this? He's an outclass a kid. He probably thought it was going to be more of a fight too. And I thought like, oh, is this guy going to pull out some magic or something? It's like, no. Arthur just smacked him in the face once. He's like, did I hit him too hard? Oh well. And then they take off, Tessia and him take off running. They're going shopping. And there was even one store where he wanted to get something, but the guy was like, you can't. But then she had to be like, yo, I'm the princess. My friend wants it. She pretty much is very stubborn in getting what she wants. But Arthur's thinking a lot about what the future will hold. And obviously thinking about what Virion said, like, you know, a flashback of like, okay, my training is going to be rough. It's going to push you through a lot, but like, it will be kind of worth it. And so, are you sure you want to go through this? And he decides he will. So he's excited to see what the future holds. And also Tessia is like, right, I'm going to train just as hard so I don't get, you know, left behind either. So, and so then training begins. And then our post-credit scene has us, because I was like, because we know that the doorway, the thing that can teleport him directly to the human, to the country where the humans live, that's every 5 years. So I was like, are we going to get the full 5-year time skip or what? Well, it seems like we got the 3-year time skip. So we've seen them a little bit older. I think like this is like the second, like from what we see from the outro and the intro, I think this is like the second oldest we will see Arthur. Kind of really surprised by like the large amount of time skips, but once again, it kind of makes sense when you're starting off with him literally being born in an infant. So you're gonna have to time skip the different phases of his life. But I'm assuming like where he's at now is like pre-teen, so he might be around like, because I don't know, like he had to be like, maybe like he's like maybe 11 now or something like that, and maybe that older version of him that's wearing the mask is like him at maybe 15, 16, if not an older teenager, I guess. I don't know, because like the outro where he's wearing like kind of like this beige clothes, it's like both the pants and he's like a little taller. I'm wondering, is that, I think that's the age range he's at. So like I said, I think that might be, maybe that's like 12 or 13, maybe he's at that preteen or slash early teen age, and then like the older version of him with the mask is like late teens, maybe. I don't know, because I want to say the last time we saw Arthur, he was like, well, because he could have been, it could easily be a thing of he was like, I think he was still 8, maybe, and now he's like, well, because also, you know, earlier part of the episode he was 9, so he's got to be 12 now, maybe. I don't know if that's right, but yeah. Catching up with him and Tessia now a tiny bit. Now they're a little bit older, so I'm curious to see how much Arthur has progressed. Even Tessia, because she's able to use her magic now, she has access to her magic core. So, because I think we also learned that, I think it's because Rhaenyra is, you know, because she's a seer, she is one of those people that exist outside of like the main, like, you know, augmentor and oh god, I'm blanking on the other like magic type, but like she's kind of like Alice and she falls outside of those categories. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much has changed in this time frame, especially like, well, since Arthur's been here for 3 years, it might be a situation of the elves have probably, like, in that time frame, have warmed up to him. We'll probably even run into Home Dude, who was talking mad crap this episode. We might run into him, and he might be a little older, being like, and him and Arthur have a little bit of a rivalry, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Just a nice little, you know, tease for the next episode of just seeing, you know, how these two, Tessia and Arthur, have grown, especially like that friendship has grown. And probably, I was almost wondering if that was supposed to be set up to be like a romantic situation or not, but it might just be more of a like a, no, you're more like a brother to me. It might be more of a sibling friendship rather than like a potentially love interest situation. Who knows? We'll have to wait to see, to kind of see how the dynamics have changed over that 3-year time skip. But I should also know, like, I love time skips because I get giddy because I'm like, ooh, I'm always excited to see how the characters are changed. So yeah, so a whole bunch of time skips just makes me extra giddy storyline wise and stuff like that. So it was never an issue for me they're implementing these in this part of the story, but like I said, it heightens my enjoyment, and I'm excited to see like how the characters change and things develop. It's also kind of sad because you're like, well, we also don't know how often he was able to contact his parents during that time frame too, because he says like, I don't know when the next time I'll be able to talk to you, but hopefully he's been able to keep in pretty consistent time. Like hopefully it's not like, oh, he hasn't talked to them in 3 years. I hope that's not the case. I like to believe he's probably been able to talk to them, communicate every once in a while. But like I said, it has only been 3 years, and it was supposed to be 2 more. It's supposed to be a total of 5 years before they, like, the council will come together and decide to open the pathway so that he could just take a fast travel point to the human world rather than kind of having to take the long trail. But we'll see how, like, you know, is he going to do more training in that 2 years, or like what's going to happen on that front, you know, to cover that 2-year period. But yeah, either way, I've run my mouth off long enough. Like I said, excited to see where this all takes us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.